Hey, Mike. How you doing?
You guys.
Aloha, Mike.
420.
Hey, brother. How's everybody doing in isolation?
Good. We're isolated, I guess. How are you guys doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. I gotta go pour some cement at 11. But I'm just walking across the street. And I won't be gone long. I'm just laying down a little bit of cement, helping my kid.
Oh,
Neighbor's
right
putting
on. And
Yeah, the neighbor's got a pregnant daughter-in-law, so we're putting on an addition.
oh, fantastic. And for people that don't know, we're talking right now with Mike Ruggles.
No, that was an amazing win.
Yeah, so this was
It really
Yeah,
was.
congratulations. Congratulations. I didn't see you that last day. I was there the first day, but
Yeah, it was amazing.
yeah.
But
Okay.
everybody knows it was my team that did it. I was just the tip of the spear.
Hmm.
And so my only job was, no matter how bad I was shaking in my boots, keep going. See,
Yeah.
everybody else did the heavy lifting. I just had to keep going because I really believe this. Like all the other guys that came before me, like Roger Christie was actually very instrumental in my win because he was my mentor like a decade before that. And what he taught me was, he said, Mike, he says, you can beat them yourself if you just go up there and you're polite, you're sincere, and you're truthful. And so I used those three things to actually beat them. I tried to be all three of those things. And I totally agree. And for anybody that's thinking about doing the same out there, that's all you got to do is those three things. The last place you want to lie is in a courtroom because it's totally designed to catch people that lie. And so good lawyers are really good at lying. And they do this thing, it's not actually lying. It's called obfuscating. Obfuscating is when you don't actually lie, but you make the truth appear to be different. You know, here's a good example. Like in Hawaii here, when the COVID first came out, they kept saying, no confirmed cases in Hawaii. We got 100,000 here and 5,000 here and 300 here, but no confirmed cases in Hawaii. And that was true. But also what was truer was we weren't doing testing in Hawaii. They never said that. They never said, hey, COVID crisis, we're not doing testing in Hawaii.
No.
Well, they kind of said it. What they would come out every broadcast and say is, no confirmed cases in Hawaii. And that was true too. Why? Because they weren't doing any testing. So you see what I mean? That's called obfuscating. It's like when they take the truth, or they didn't actually lie, but they present it in a way that is misleading.
So it's sort of like prioritizing facts and making some
and
facts
lawyers
higher
are really
priority.
good at that. Yeah, lawyers are super good at that. A super good lawyer can just jump on any side of any situation and obfuscate.
Well, one thing that I noticed was that this was a very long battle. So I think
It was.
your recommendation to stay out of court is just as important as any other recommendation that I've heard, because they
Right.
had you involved for how many years?
Oh man, I've been doing this fight since 07. In 07, I got busted by Officer of the Year, who had done over 1,000 people on the Big Island that year. And he was Officer of the Year across the nation. Bush made him Officer of the Year. And his name was John Weber. And he would lie so smoothly, it made me put an ad in the paper. I put an ad in the paper that said, got legal marijuana, but been busted anyway? United we stand. And it had my phone number. But the funny part of that story was when I was trying to get it in there, the lady wouldn't let me put it in. I was trying to put it in the personal section. And she's like, you can't put that in the personal section. I'm like, why not? She said, well, because it's not true. I said, no, it is true. It's legal. She said, no, it's medical. I said, well, if you have medical, it's legal. She's like, no, and she hung up on me. And so I kept calling her back, and then I get the voice of God. Some guy just picks up the phone. Is this Mike Ruggles? I'm like, yeah. He says, we'll run that ad. I was like, oh, thank you. And the funny part was, the only other ad at the time in the personals was a guy, I don't know if you guys have been here this long, but was running an ad that said, spaceship leaving for Venus the following Saturday, bring your own weapons. And so that's when she hung up on me. I was like, really? This guy can put spaceship leaving for Venus, but I can't put got legal marijuana but been busted? So anyway, I put the ad in the paper. Sure enough, I got over 100 calls the first week of people, because he'd busted over 1,100 people on the Big Island. I got over 100 calls from people who had been busted by John Weber, all saying the same thing. Because he would lie and say stuff like, you're coming down your stairs. He had this one that I was coming down the stairs in the police report, and he said, and I yell out, I don't care about my rights right now. Now, does anybody ever yell that out, especially when they're getting busted? And he had said that in at least over 100 reports. Everybody that he ever arrested would always yell out, I don't care about my rights right now. And you know what? Nobody ever says that. If you do care about rights, you really care about them even more when you're getting arrested.
Yeah, it sounds like a
So,
pretty odd thing.
and that's my advice to other people. But my main advice to people that get harassed for using cannabis is, because remember, I come from a long line of law enforcement. And we do what my dad told me what to do, is remember the 3 things to do when you get harassed by law enforcement. Shut up, be quiet, and don't say anything. And so if you forget any one of those, always at least try to remember one of them. Because they always tell you, anytime anyone tells you anything you say can and will be used against you, they're pretty much explaining it to you right there.
Right,
Shut
if you
up.
say anything.
Because why? Yeah, don't say anything. Why? Because they just told you, if you say anything, not only can it be used against you, it will be used against you. And so that's my advice. And I believe any lawyer would give you the same advice, which is never talk to them if they're coming after you. I mean, otherwise, be nice. Always be courteous. You know,
Right.
always give them your name, stuff like that. But don't do anything other than that. Always say, no, I'm waiting for a lawyer. And whenever they read you your rights, you always say, oh, thank you. I want all those. Always care about your rights.
Always care about.
Especially if the guy's got a gun. Yeah, especially if the guy's got a gun and a badge. You always want to be caring about your rights. And
Well,
so,
that-
yeah, no, it was a great fight. And for me, what really was the best part about it was the whole community came forward for me. I kind of stuck my chin out there and said, all right, come on, you jerks, I'll fight you. But in hindsight, I was being a little egocentric, because without all that support I had, they would have kicked the living tar out of me. The system they got set up, our judicial system, that I believe totally targets the poor and the mentally ill, of which I qualify in both. but,
Allegedly.
you know, it targets us, you know what I mean? It targets people like me, and man, they're mean, you know? If I hadn't had, what's the word? I had like a legal aid helping full time and at least 10 other people. I had over 10 book boxes of words. It was the meanest word war I ever saw in my life. Can you imagine? We did the math. There was over 15 million words in those boxes. And you had to know every word, have it memorized, and know where it was and who said it and when on what day, and be ready to instantly break it out and show the jury.
That's
So, yeah.
And who are some of your team members? I know Sarah was a team member.
Well, Sarah was the legal aid. She was instrumental. And I also want to say the lawyer, you know, I'm trying to think of
Stanton Oshiro.
Stanton Oshiro. Oh man, he was a badass, and I would highly recommend him, because even though I had a lot of horsepower, I didn't know how to direct it. We really needed somebody that knew what the hell they were doing, and that was him. And that guy's a smooth operator, you know. because as he pointed out to me time and time again, which is, Mike, you're more like a Viking with your Thor hammer. You just try to smash points home. Try to be a little more subtle, you know, and that was excellent advice. Try to be a little more subtle. Don't just ram the point up there a pole every time. And
At
so,
least
no,
not
he
in the
was
court of
great.
law.
Yeah, you got to be a little more subtle in the court of law. But
And-
I had to have the legal aid, but I had a team. Of course, Jennifer was there, but then Brett and Brittany Neal. Man, there was just a whole team. The Friends for Justice, like most of the guys that, when I put that ad in the paper and we started this organization and I agreed to spearhead it for them, they backed my play the whole way. I don't know if you guys were there, but the courtroom was full. And I believe that had a telling presence on the jury. Because when I could say stuff like, I had to help these people over here. Why? They were dying. You know, when I was able to put Grey Wolf on the stand and we showed that, the picture was so horrendous, the judge wouldn't even let me show it to the jury. So
Wow.
what a badass is Grey Wolf. Half his face was missing. And it was so horrendous because I was just holding him up, trying to get him admitted. And the judge like, put that picture down.
Oh,
And so, no, he recovered from that, you know, using the Phoenix Tears that we made in our team, you know, and Brittany's a registered nurse, and Brent was like one of the first graduates of, what is
Oaksterdam.
it? Oaksterdam. Yeah, Oaksterdam with the Cannabis College in California. And so we had some cutting edge people doing great things and helping a lot of people.
Yeah, and our community
Yeah.
is stacked, right? we've got so many.
Yeah, and you were there. Yeah, and you were there too, man, the whole trial. No, a lot of people backed my play, and like you say, the community really came out. And I needed every bit of that because they were pulling every dirty trick in the book. These guys really wanted to win and had never lost before. And one thing's for sure, they'd never lost to a pro se guy before.
Right.
But, you know,
And
but
so
it's
was
not something I would recommend doing unless you have a crew. If you can put together 10 people that got you play and know how to play with millions of words, because that's really what you need. Because I needed not only the legal aid, like Brittany has obsessive compulsive disorder. So she puts everything where you need it. Because, you know, so we needed her just to tell people where stuff was when they needed it. They'd be like, oh, we need this document, you know, and then we could say, Brittany, where is that document? Oh, book 5, file 8. Bang, there it was. Yeah, she has a photographic memory. That didn't hurt either.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you got to have people on your team that have photographic memories, know where stuff is, and then other people that want to know where the hell it is, and
Well,
where to go, where to get it,
I think
and what to ask for.
even while you're in court, you managed to bring people together into the courtroom, and it was really
It
like
was great.
family every day.
It was. No, it was bringing tears to my eyes. In fact, I cried several times in there. It was very unmanly, but I couldn't help it. I'm an emotional guy. And it was really endearing to see all these people show up. And then, you know, I wasn't lying when I look back and talk about all the people that we helped to die. You know, many of our friends and people that were collective members are on the other side because a high percentage of them were hospice people. And so, and I want everyone to know that it's such a pleasure to be around and help people transition to the other side. You know, and I highly recommend it for everybody.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of wisdom. You know, when you're checking out, you can see the world from the end of the tunnel. You know, and you have a lot of wisdom.
Yeah, we have
And so no, it was cool.
We have a few folks in our patient organization right now that are, you know, hanging in there, and you know, not in the best physical state, but there seems to be some sort of spiritual enlightenment that comes with seeing.
You really do.
Yeah. So
Getting to the end.
So I know that you're going to have to run soon, Mike, but you know, part of the reason I wanted to get you on the show today was also to you know, help folks know that you're running for mayor and where you're coming from.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
some of those issues that you would be fighting for as our mayor. Would this be our first mayor out of Puna?
Good question. I wouldn't really know that stat, but I would. Oh, Harry Kim's from Puna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be the first from Puna. In fact, you know, the east side of Hawaii has kind of been bogarting, leadership. I want to say Kona's been way underrepresented throughout the years. But Kona used to be way smaller than Hilo when I first got here. You know, both of them, when I first got here back in '77, there was only 2 lights on the entire island. You had one in Kona in front of the KTA, and then you had the one down over by the Singing Bridge. That was it. Was it there? No, I think it was either there or at Ken's traffic light. There was only 2 lights. Because when I first got here back in '77, I drove around the island twice trying to find the town. The second time I stopped in Kona, I'm like, where's the town? They're like, you're in it. One traffic light down. And back then you'd go to the McDonald's to find jobs. All the people that needed work would meet you at McDonald's because they had free refills. And man, everybody'd be jacked. The contractors would know, wait till 10, because then everybody down there is so jacked on Kona coffee. They're just dying to get to work. No, it's been great growing up on the Big Island. I love every bit of it. But no, the main reason I'm running is because Mitch Roth, the prosecutor's running. He's the front runner. And the real problem with that is he was the guy instrumental in getting in administrative forfeiture and matching funds. And if you ask me, these are the 2 critical things that changed the police they're supposed to be on the side of their car, it says serve and protect. But once it became law enforcement for profit, and that's exactly what administrative forfeiture and matching funds made it. Because you'll notice administrative forfeiture is all they have to do is believe that anything you have was obtained illegally. And you'll notice I say they, and I mean the police and the prosecutor. And they can take up to $100,000 without you ever going to court. And in fact, they did an audit on administrative forfeiture in 2018, and we have the worst stats in the country. They take over $5 million, and they over 25% of the people they take stuff from, they don't even get charged. Like if they catch you using cannabis in your car, they can just take your car. The only thing that saves you from doing that, if you ever do get caught, is you got a crappy car. You know, they look at your car, and if it's too crappy, like they probably wouldn't take my car, but they might take your car. And so to me, it's outrageous. Administrative forfeiture, because you don't even get your day in court, and it goes against the cornerstone of our judicial system, which is you're innocent until proven guilty. And so when they administrative forfeited my stuff, even though I was found guilty, I was totally exonerated, found guilty. They still kept my stuff. I don't ever get it back. I mean, I was found not guilty. And so, yeah, you think you'd at least get your stuff back when you have your day in court and you're found not guilty. No, administrative forfeiture, they actually find your stuff guilty.
Right.
And so it
Stuff
makes
is guilty.
And here's the thing you got to remember too. Who gets the money? The prosecutors and the cops. So how is that not a conflict of interest when the people that are deciding who gets the money are the people that get the money? That's called conflict of interest. And that's what we have going on right now, administrative forfeiture and matching funds. If I could just do 2 magical things to fix the police department, and I'm not calling them corrupt, but I am saying this, they've never been audited ever in the county of Hawaii. And I can, it's like if you had kids and you told them to be to bed at 10 o'clock, but I'm never going to check. Would they go to bed at 10 o'clock every night? Well, I'm a gambler. I would bet against it. So I'm not saying the police are corrupt, but I'm saying nobody ever checks. You have to have checks and balances on everybody. Without it, you're going to have problems. That's why you got problems with the Boy Scouts and you got problems with the church. Because why? You got to have checks and balances on everybody, even the good guys. That's what made America great. Checks and balances and sunshine. And right now, we're not having either. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Leloy thing, where he got busted in like June, and they didn't let us know till like a month ago. And so they wouldn't do that to anyone else. And I'll tell you why they did that. Is that they had several cases pending, like mine as well, because mine was pending, that would have affected. He was a star witness for the state in my case, and it would have been nice for the public to know that he not only threatens to beat people up, like I was saying, and he was denying, that he actually does it. Well, it didn't matter. I was still found not guilty. But my point is this: you shouldn't be allowed to cover stuff up like that. And somebody pointed out in the paper, they're like, that's like third world stuff when you cover up what your buddy's done. And so they actually had his charge sealed, and technically you're not even supposed to do that. And we don't even know what judge sealed it, but they had his case sealed for some reason. And the only reason you're supposed to do that is for like national security or imminent harm.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, somehow they got, yeah. And when they asked Mitch Roth about it, what he said was, well, we don't know if the system's working. You know, and so I got a heads up for people. When you don't know if the system's working, it's not working.
So,
it's supposed to be sunshine.
So was this the thing that was going on with Detective, or is it Lieutenant Leloy and
exactly
the other county employee? This was happening while they were both in the courtroom at your trial, right?
Well, it had happened before that, and they had hit it. And because it wasn't just my case it would have affected, but there was also the 777. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Apparently they had some place where you were gambling, quasi-gambling, I'm not sure. But he was, they had gone after them as well. I believe it was 777. But there were several other cases too. But my point is this: do you really want a prosecutor who's already shown that he will purposely do unlawful stuff, like hide stuff, because he purposely hid that? Do you really want this guy for mayor? And that's why I'm running, because that was the point of the question, which was, Mike, why are you running for mayor? I'm trying to point out that I love the Big Island. I've lived here for 45 years, and I've raised a great family here, and I want to give back. I don't want, I'm trying to stop people in power of privilege. But if you want same old, letting people with power and privilege figure out who gets to do what on the Big Island, well, then they got their guy, Mitch Roth. But if you're looking for somebody who's going to be power for the people, like Mitch Roth won't even declare his opinion on what's happening on the mountain. It's like, I don't think my opinion's appropriate because it'll probably be solved before I ever get elected. Well, I totally disagree with him. This ain't going to be solved until they go away. And so it's kind of, what should I say? It's kind of wishy-washy of a guy that won't even say whether he's pro TMT or not. And I'm from Vegas. They call that the Ninth Island. And I'm willing to bet anybody out there that wants to bet me, he's pro TMT.
Right.
That's why he won't say it. That's why he won't say it. And he doesn't want to offend anybody. But man, we need mayors who are at least going to tell us what their stance are on things and not be afraid to back it up with some logic. Because I don't care if people disagree with me, but I can tell you my logic on the TMT thing is it's exactly like this. Let's say you lived in Fern Acres, and I do, and everybody decided that my property was the best place to put a microwave tower for their phones, because phone service does suck out here. And my property probably would be a good one. And I would agree with everybody that thought it would be a good place. I would say, no, I do live on a hill. I picked it because I was worried about lava, so I picked a hill. So my property would be the best place for a microwave tower. You'd get the highest coverage. It'd be great. Only thing is, I got some problems with that. I'm not sure I trust these microwave towers. I'm not sure I want to have my brain baked by those things in my backyard. And that's the thing on the mountain. the people that own the mountain, even though UH are the trustee of the mountain, the people that actually own the mountain, they're the people that disagree. They're going, hey man, we don't want your telescope. Well, back to the microwave tower in the backyard. Whose call is it? All the people in Fern Acres, or is it my call? Well, I say it's my backyard. Who cares? I don't give a damn what all the people in Fern Acres think. It's my backyard. I don't want no dang microwave tower in my backyard. So maybe they should buy a piece of property and put it there.
Yeah, well,
And so it's a novel idea.
Yeah.
Colorado lockdown, the COVID blues, baby. I wish I was in lockdown, aloha style with you friends on an island. No
Right.
snow. We just got a foot of snow.
oh wow.
My.
Yeah.
Good about that.
Well, we wish you were here. Lizzie, can you give us an update on the NOCO event and sort of offer any guidance you might have for us doing events out here?
I'd like to offer some guidance for the world to do events, but right now there isn't much guidance I can give you. We lucked out and our event got moved to August 6th through 8th in Denver. So we are hoping that the world opens back up by then and we can get all of us together. So we're going to be making hemp masks and hemp hand sanitizer. I don't know. We just really hope that we're going to be able to continue on with the event in August. We are doing an Earth Week virtual event starting on Wednesday. And on Earth Day 422, it's the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And so we are doing a virtual trade show and conference that's going to be pretty cool. You can read more about it at nocohempexpo.com. So click on Earth Week, who's ever driving it, and scroll down. Yeah, you got it. And if you scroll down a little, I take it as Brent that's driving it. There's a little bit about what's going on. And if you click on that register here button, it's free. Then you just put your email in to the right. Super, super fun. Thanks for registering, Brent. You're ready to go.
That's what's done.
It's so easy, and it's really cool because it's free. You know, a lot of the virtual conferences are charging money, which is understandable, but with so many, it's like, well, where's the free stuff, right?
NOCOHempExpo.com. I see it's powered by Let's Talk Hemp, and you guys have been not just, pioneers, but really instrumental in growing the hemp industry, not just in the United States, but around the world. And
You'll see we have a call for speakers now that we've implemented. Oh shoot, I don't know if it's on here anymore because this is all changed. Change it to .org or no, net. Sorry, I guess I should know my websites.
Oh, yeah.
For people that don't know, Lizzie and Morris are throwing, more than a dozen events per year. So
You can fill out a call for speakers here, and you just select all of the events that you may want to speak at, and then you register, and we keep like a whole list of all of our speakers and what their topics are. If it's about cultivation or soil or extraction or anything like that, you put your headshot in your bio, and you can choose what events you may want to speak about or at, like if it's at Hawaii or if it's in NOCO in Denver or down in Nashville.
So would you like to say anything about the event? Maybe do a quick interstitial ad for your event in August?
Oh no, this is strictly just a live chat with you friends. This is not an infomercial, so thank you.
Awesome.
Maybe another day. I just wanted to say hi. I got to go run off to my Earth Week event. So aloha, everybody, and can't wait to see you. I'll be in Maui at the end of August for the Hawaii Farmers Union. So I hope to see you guys all there. Hopefully it's still going to go on.
Awesome. We'll see you there.
Okay,
Aloha.
so James, is
Bye.
it going to go on, James?
Yeah, we're hoping that it'll go on. It's just been very dismal here of what's happening. A lot of people scared. But for us,
Yeah,
out and about in the garden, on the farm, in the medicine, just keeping our distance. They're limiting ourselves from traveling, so we can't go to Paia or Kihei. You have to have some kind of business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
yeah. Maui got pretty strict pretty quickly. We're kind of dragging our feet here. You know, Mayor Kim. As far as I know, there's very little enforcement.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just following whatever the mayor says. So we have to make a placard. You know, it's like I'm an organic farmer. I build gardens for people.
If you could just do an intro of the Hawaii Farmers Union and maybe the upcoming event in August, that would be super cool.
Could do that. Yeah. Uncle Bobby Pahia took my seat as president for Wana Kalavai, and I've just been on the background, watching and observing everyone that's still in the Farmers Union. Vince Luna has been strong in collaborating with other nonprofits to create Maui's first food hub. So that's pretty cool to see region, each farmers in the region helping and participating and donating to the cause for those who are in need. I see that the future is not the same in the means of capitalistic means of collaboration. Everyone's collaborating now. It's not all about the money anymore. It's about resources and how we share the resources and how do we build everyone up, which is nice.
Do you think that's a change? Is that a change from how things are going? I realize that the community is really stepping up, and food is such an important part of that.
Food, every shelf. Most of the garden stores that I visited are all gone. They're all empty. Seeds, starts,
Yeah.
all off the shelves.
Yeah, here too.
Yeah. So the continuation is to build families, to sustain the families, to have a garden, and to continue to educate them on the regenerativeness of what it takes to become a regenerative farmer, meaning having them access to worms and building them a worm bin and learning how to create a composting tea instrument so that you can use that for feeding, how to create compost somewhere in your yard, or where to get compost that is free from chemicals. It's hard to find.
Where we have homesteaded on new lava flows, or even 500-year-old lava flows, we don't have soil, man. So soil building techniques are number one to learn how to build soil and do container gardening until rows can be planted.
Yeah, I agree there.
Super.
How are you doing?
I'm sorry, Will, go ahead.
How are you doing, James? Are you growing hemp this season?
No hemp this season.
You recovered from the fires. I know that your farm was wiped out.
I got moved to a temporary holding. Uncle Bobby Pahia enabled me to store and have a space, but no lease until 2021 or longer.
Oh, well.
So I just said, well, I'll just work with him on what I can. It's just I can't do the same practices that they're doing as far as conservation, but that shouldn't matter because I don't really need to do that at the moment. if they're it or the conservation practices.
Right, right.
Yeah. So
Well,
you know,
we're really blessed to have so many farmers getting involved in hemp, and we're really blessed to have every type of farmer come together, right? Supporting patients is number one to me through the Hawaii Patients Union, but it feels so good, when we don't feel alone, when we know that across the islands, people have the same thoughts, the same ideas, the same mana'o, and everybody gets together to share it and learn how. It's just so meaningful. So thank you so much for all you're doing with the organization, and I know you guys are working with Lizzie very closely as well, and really bringing hemp into the light. So
hemp. Hopefully, Maui Bob King has initiated the first round of extraction and the CO2 extraction. He enabled us to, have the possibility to try to extract whatever we have. So we extracted Olena using his CO2 extractor, and it's amazing the amount of oils that comes out of it. But he only has not a big extractor. It's like less than 50 liter. So in
wow.
order to very small.
So what's the Olena medicine like?
Olena in its concentrated form can be put into drops, can be blended with hemp, can be blended with other essential oils.
And that is turmeric.
Yeah, turmeric,
Elena.
Olena, yeah.
And so turmeric or Olena goes well with noni.
Noni, yeah.
Are you guys doing that? Are you doing any mixtures for patients, or is this sort of a general retail product, or is it even retail yet?
It's not a retail, it's all experimental because they have the machine and they,
takes a lot to learn it.
yeah.
Yeah, I've got I'm working on setting up a really large CO2 machine that we have on this island. I'll keep you updated on that, but I'm putting it together. I know the guy that has it.
Nice.
It's not being used right now, but he knows how to use it already, which is it's a huge learning curve. He's got a degree in chemistry, and it was using it for years and years.
Nice.
I'll let you know. Yeah, and that we'll be able to do some volume. We've got a lot of hemp here already that's gonna, it is ready to be extracted. We're just behind on the processing, of course.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, man. More hemp.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Hey, Scott, how you doing? And hey, Dr. Susat, how are you? Aloha.
Doing good. Doing
Doctor,
good. Doing good in the acres.
I'm getting my license back here. I took a break for a while out of disgust for the whole process, but now I'm getting it back just to prove that I'm not a bad and crazy guy.
Dr. Susan, this is Brent. I'm really hoping that you could just do a brief introduction. You've been at our events before, you've presented, and I'm wondering if you could just kind of fill people in on where you're coming from.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a medical doctor. I got trained here in Hawaii decades ago, and I've been practicing for almost 40 years without a complaint from a patient, but I kind of ran afoul of California back, and then Hawaii investigated me for a couple of years and decided that I was bad because it had taken me 2 months instead of 1 month to let Hawaii know that I'd surrendered my license in California. So I've got a few thousand patients, like upwards of 20 or more, in California and other places, because I was kind of legal, and that didn't sit well with the powers that be. But I'm happy that I was able to be part of keeping the knowledge and the medicine alive during the dark years of the drug war. And now I'm looking at getting back into the fray here in whatever way that serves.
Fantastic. And you have such a wealth of information and insights and awareness that I don't even know where to begin. Maybe we should begin with right now, 420. What are you doing? What are you doing today for fun?
Well, I'm staying home in my garden. In fact, we're putting some seeds in the ground pretty soon. Here's some Wi-Fi, and I'm just home in my garden, happily to be here in the treehouse in Hawaii. We're kind of shut the doors to visitors, but I'm looking forward to being able to host events here in the future again soon.
Awesome. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you give us some Hawaii scenery?
Oh, sure. Let's
Yeah,
see.
you live in the treehouse also. Brent has a treehouse that he lives in.
All right. Well, here's the Rainbow Bridge to Heaven. Hallelujah.
All right.
And then you can see Honolulu and Waikiki and the ocean off in the distance there. Yeah, got
Wow,
the
treehouse
Lotus
with a
Pond
view.
going and the Kalo, and yeah,
Oh,
in beautiful Manoa Valley, the wide or vast valley that opens onto Waikiki.
wow. Beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I see you
Yeah,
got some algae down there for for your nitrogen for your plants.
exactly. That the duckweed extracts the algae from the dirty water and puts it back into duckweed, which you can use to fertilize.
I see. I've never heard of duckweed.
Well, it's good for removing nitrogen, specifically from polluted waters.
I see. Wow. How high up are you there? Is that 20, 30 feet up?
Yeah, I'll walk across the bridge here. You know, we get out to about 100 feet above the stream in the tree. It's a banyan family strangler fig vine that just keeps getting taller and encompassing everything. It's way up there. That's about 110 feet above the stream up there in the top of the tree.
Wow. Big tree.
It's been going for 40 years, this treehouse, even before I bought the place 36 years ago. And here we've got a workshop where Richard VII is making all kind of crazy stuff out of marine debris.
Wow. That's
Nets and ropes. I got my inspiration from hearing about people growing in the top of mango trees using old fishing nets. And so that's kind of what we're doing here.
Wow, that's cool.
Really interesting.
Well, you're all welcome.
Okay.
Neighbor Island folks, please feel free to crash here when you come through and when we get this pandemic behind us.
Yeah, no kidding.
We'll make it there for sure.
Yeah, we'll be there soon.
Right on.
Wow. And so
Right on.
as far as patient healthcare, and how I'm not sure exactly what question to ask here, but I'd like to better understand how patients are being taken care of. We understand that the governor has placed an executive order that is prohibiting any new patients from getting licenses. Have you heard about that?
You know, I haven't seen that happening, but I wouldn't be surprised, those idiots.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that you can still register, but I'm not sure about that. But it's all online now.
My friend Dr. Steve Wilson is doing it online, and he's kept all my patients taken care of while I've been sort of offline all these years. Yeah, he's doing it virtually.
Yeah, that's what May is doing also. They're just doing phone consults.
Yeah, and I was doing that for years in California, the telehealth, just doing Skype consultations, since my philosophy was that nobody should be illegal, and pretending like we're practicing medicine is kind of baloney.
Right.
So in Colorado, we have lines outside of our dispensaries, and the governor said that essential businesses like grocery stores, liquor stores, and cannabis stores have to stay open. That was really interesting to see.
I love that. Yeah,
Come
cannabis is.
across the governor's desk, you know, it was super
Yeah.
cool.
That's
They're super cool in Colorado, though. Our dispensaries are still open. We're going to have Dylan from Big Island Grown jump on at some point and give us the update there, but I'm guessing there's a similar thing happening here.
Well, I'm going to jump out, guys. Aloha, friends. Love you all so much.
Hi, Lizzie.
The island.
happy 420.
Yeah, thanks for visiting with us.
Yes, see you soon. Aloha.
All right. Aloha.
For checking in from the Hawaii Farmers Union over on Maui. Sounds like they got some pretty serious restrictions going over there. So we've heard from Colorado, and we've heard from a very different story in Hawaii.
How you doing, Scott? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, glad you sent me the message.
Yeah, so you said you were having trouble with that, cracking those Ringo's Gift CBD.
These are from Relic
Uh-huh.
Seeds. We're doing this. Cracking these seeds in part for Charlotte Figi. And also just because this is a great strain. So Professor P from Relic Seeds gifted us Charlotte's Gift, which is C-Web, Charlotte's Web, and Ringo's Gift. So yes, we're on it. Started these yesterday, and we'll have to give an update at the next Patients Union meeting to see how they sprouted. So for the folks that haven't checked out the HawaiiPatientsUnion.com and our next monthly meetings or our month.
Oh, very cool. How are you?
Are they talking to me? Oh, hi, I'm Gray Wolf. Oh my God.
Hey, Gray Wolf. Haven't seen you looking so good for so long. Wow. I remember when you had half your face
I
off.
thought I was looking at myself. Only. Okay. Yeah, so here we are.
Happy 420. Right on. Do you have is there anything interesting going on in the cannabis world that you can share with us?
No, I've mostly just been working on updating the Drug Policy Forum's guidebook to the medical use of cannabis and the drug laws. Plus, CBD and THC, they go best together naturally. Pandemic. Yeah, just trying to stay healthy and keep our friends healthy, and yeah. So we're trying to keep Vibe Tribe events going on, but everything's being done on Zoom. It's great. It's great seeing what it's doing for the environment.
Yeah, there's definitely some blessings to having the downtime, and hopefully everybody, not just we that are kind of more aware.
So if you guys can hear me again now, I've got my sound back.
There you are. Hey.
Aloha, Wendy.
Aloha. Brother.
Good. We have someone scheduled for noon, and I see Brother Bart. Brother Bart has been or is an attorney and has represented Roger Christie in the past, and has also studied molecular biology and has quite a bit to say about COVID and our interactions with a pandemic. I hope, Bart, you'll help us all understand how we can better enjoy 420 today.
Well, to start with, have a puff.
Happy 420.
Let's with the whole thing there. I've encouraged even my friends who actually smoke cigarettes to go ahead and smoke, because the hot ash or the hot smoke actually is going to kill the virus. You can gargle. You can use silver solutions and gargle. You can even use regular gargle. It's not very strong. You can use salt water. That's why I like the surfers right now. They're out there without their masks. No mask hysteria there whatsoever. We've got to start taking a look at what actually works. I worked in the UC Berkeley virus lab for a while as a punishment, unfortunately, for finding out that LSD had some good effects in 1969. But we didn't get sick from the viruses, and the graduate student I was working for, became a really big bigwig in WHO, Harvey Bialy. We used ultraviolet light, and it doesn't take long.
Okay, so
but it's very.
Sorry to interrupt. Is this the ultraviolet light, like a black light, or like the kind of light we use to sort of clean our water from our catchment? What kind of ultraviolet light are we talking about?
More like the water catchment cleaner. And I was talking about that 10 years ago, I think, to somebody about studying LED ultraviolet lights in a pipe, and that would sterilize your water going through it. But it's the ultraviolet. It's about 420 nanometer wavelength, and it shakes apart the RNA. It just makes it dust, essentially.
So it at a molecular level, at a cellular level, is that a molecular level or cellular level, the RNA disruption?
Well, the most important thing to know about viruses, RNA, DNA, and all the rest of it is the most fundamental aspect is the hydrogen bonding that holds them all together. And so if you vibrate that hydrogen bonding apart, none of the protein amino acids make any difference. They're just random and floating around in the suit like dust.
I see. Wow, that's fascinating. And so I really like that idea of having an ultraviolet light and a water bong. It seems like a smart idea to me.
It's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. They also have small hand ones that are rechargeable, I understand. I got one on order, but everything is so slow, I haven't received mine. That doctors use and other people that know what's happening, and you just use that instead of a hand sanitizer, which really isn't sanitizing that much. It's wiping things off, but it's not really sanitizing. The whole thing with, in the old days, we didn't use masks, we had handkerchiefs. And I think we should start thinking about our freedom. And that's the really most important part of today. Our 420 has always been about freedom. The freedom to smoke a joint where and when we feel necessary. I'll do an aside here. Back in 1978, I was working at Charles Schwab, and I was downtown San Francisco, Montgomery Street, and I used to go out at about 4 o'clock, between 4 and 4:30, and hang out with the bike messengers, and we would smoke. Now, there's lots of stories about where 420 started, but that's 1978 in San Francisco with the bike messengers when we all went out there and smoked. I even met a new friend the other day, and we shared a bong. It's about not being afraid to live. It's about being free. If we live in a society where we're going to be afraid to go outside and see people, we're never going to get anything done. We won't have any fun. There'll be no adventures. I went around the world like a lot of hippies did. And take a look at the fascinating lives like Roger himself, the THC ministry. We should talk about that a little bit because that's one of the most important things about 420 to me, because it goes beyond the medical marijuana, beyond the recreational marijuana. It goes to the spiritual marijuana.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Bart. I've got some images I can put up as well.
Excellent. Well, I don't agree with Roger on everything that he says from the THC industry. Let's start there. But the most important thing is this holy anointing oil as it's described in, I believe it's Exodus. And the Hebrew scholars that he presented to me convinced me that the word that they use that's translated as sweet flag is cannabis, and the plural is cannabosum. And if there isn't something any closer to cannabis, it defies my imagination. And I say this because a long time ago, 25, 30 years ago, I should say, that's really not that long. I was looking in a very old philosophical magazine at UC Berkeley Library, and they made the assertion that the weed at the end of Sparta, which was at that time labeled Sparta Townsendi, was in fact cannabis. So the warriors knew its healing as the Chinese did. It's been used. It's also, I believe, good for longevity, and they can't deny us the freedom to use some of the weed. And I've been using it since the 60s. I believe it actually helps our health. I believe it's spiritual, and that one should be able to stand on the fact, whether they're Judeo or Christian, on the fact that it is a part of the gifts of the herbs that bear seed.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think many of us agree with you. And in fact, the father of medical cannabis, Dr. Robert Mitchum, wrote Roger an email back in 2014, and I put that up on the screen, Bart.
I can see it.
And I realize that
Yeah.
not everyone can see it. Some folks are on their phone, for example, and some may not have video. So if you don't mind, can I read that very quickly?
Oh, would you please?
Absolutely. So, sort of a candid subject line there. I'll skip. But dear Mr. Christie, some researchers believe that cannabisum, fragrant cane, mentioned in the Bible, is cannabis. Thus, S. Bennett has published a detailed article entitled Early Diffusion and Folk Uses of Hemp in a book edited by V. Rubin named Cannabis and Culture, published by Bolton Press in The Hague, 1975, that cannabisum is hemp, and then it was used as part of the incense in the temple. Regards, R. Mitchum. So there you go. That's someone we can also believe in.
Well, and know who we're up against on the other side. Herodotus, who's called the father of lies because of his histories, said that the Scythians used to throw a big, big harvest the cannabis, and they'd throw it on a big bonfire and dance around it and get intoxicated. So I believe that somehow that there's that duality, the schizophrenia that comes out of the Greek mind there and the ancients, because it was used. They knew it at Sparta, but apparently in Athens, they didn't like the Scythians.
Dang. Well, that's kind of a bummer. So how does it work out? How do we all get to this point spiritually, and how do we bring people in that are sort of strict evangelists that have never heard this information before? How can we welcome them into the tribe?
Well, now that's a very good question. I think basically we have to convince them with compassion. They don't have to use it. But to present why we use it, both scientifically, socially, and etc. I used it, and I have to be honest about this, and everybody can use it against me because I'm running for office at this point. But I passed the bar in California. The first time I missed it by one question, 3 points. I didn't smoke any pot. The second time I took it, about every half hour or so, I went to the bathroom and had a couple puffs and went back and had no problem passing it. My mind has always gone too fast, and I missed things. I had missed that one question on the multiple choice, not on the essay. So my mind was skipping over the questions, and cannabis slowed it down so that I was no longer a skipping rock, but I was sailing in the troughs of the waves and seeing everything. And for me, it's been very, very helpful to make me more competent. I often smoke and go to work.
Right. As do so many other people. And, we're hearing more and more stories like that, Bart. I'm sure that you've heard many more than I have. But if we could really approach people with compassion, empathize with their beliefs, and allow everyone to believe what they want to believe, then Is that really how we bring all this together and sort of solve cannabis as a societal issue?
I think it's how we approach every problem. Because if you don't stop and listen to the other person and what they're feeling, you can't begin to understand what they're saying. You can't begin unless you start listening to help somebody understand what you're saying, because you know where they're not understanding you.
Right, where their level of awareness is.
Ability is absolutely without peer.
Fantastic. That's really, really great advice that you learned from your time in courtrooms and ways that people can, not necessarily win in court, but to avoid court.
Keep your mouth shut.
As in, don't
Unless you
talk to the police.
the less you get into it. Only talk to your lawyer, and be sure to have somebody that is not being paid by the state if you can, because they're kind of hampered. What you want to do is look at whatever situation they have you in dispassionately as you can, and think what's the best thing you could get out of it and how to get there. If you've been caught red-handed, it's sort of like, I've always told people, this is like real world, but it's so much like high school. You used to get sent to the principal and get expelled for a while. This time they send you to the courts and you go to jail for a while. So be akamai. You're going before the people that can actually make these decisions, and you want to deal with them with a lot of research behind you and the understanding that they have a certain job to do, this compassion thing. And then also the humility of saying, well, I may not agree with you, and this is my defense, but if we can come to an agreement as to how we can go forward with this, then we can go forward. The biggest problem, of course, is in pure sovereignty, because then you have to be a sovereign and take what comes. And that's what sovereignty is about. You state your position, you stand there, and you take the judgment, because they do have the arms. They are the military-industrial complex. They have the arms. And if you talk to any of these people throughout time here, specifically my friend Sonny, who used to walk around all in white, if you don't have the way, he's the first one that brought to me how everything moves under military control, and has been before we were all born. So the sovereignty issue is a little bit different from simply the marijuana issue. It's vitally important. When I've done things for sovereigns, the best I've done is when the judge said he didn't understand the sovereign said he didn't understand the judge. I said, great, let's negotiate. Let's try to understand each other.
Right.
The religious part, I think, is a lot better. I think that we have a right under the First Amendment that we are not exercising right now, because we're under the COVID pandemic. I call it a mass hysteria these days. And we should be a little bit more to the point. I grew up at a time when nobody guaranteed that you could go outside and get through the day. And particularly as a teenager with a motorcycle, it was up in the air. I was not afraid. I see nothing about fear that helps any of us. The legal system, like I said, don't say anything. The law is the law, and you're going to have to figure what they actually have. And the first thing I would always say is get the police report. They always lie. You can always impeach their credibility with some misstatement that they put in.
Is there a particular technique that we can use before the police report is filed to, just get our story into some sort of a format? Is that basically just using our phones to record what's going on if we get stopped or detained?
Yeah, if you can, but trying to get that before the judge is almost a useless exercise. What you need to do is reduce the damage in the beginning and not antagonize them too much. If you've got an automatic camera in your car like they do, they're not going to know if it's on unless they ask you, and you can always say no, because it's none of their business. It's your rights. That's not a law. That's protecting your rights. Now, if you're using your phone, they're going to see it. And unfortunately, they might beat the crap out of you. I've had a friend here who had to leave the island last year, I guess it was, or earlier this year. And it was because they wouldn't stop harassing him. And he always was taking the phone, taking pictures. The police report, the least that they can put on there, the more they're going to lie. I've never lost a case when I've had the police report because I can usually find something. The most egregious one is when they said that their information came the day after they made the search warrant.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty heavy. Is there anything that they can do, or is the advice still the same? Like, don't talk to police, unfortunately. That sounds like horrible advice, but...
Well, anything you say can and will be used against you, period.
Well, for instance, you have your rights. If they say, can I see what's in your trunk? You say no. They're not going to like it, but you say no.
And
you're still going to open.
Can they just come and search your vehicle anyway?
They do. They do. They plant people. So the thing is you just want to reduce the amount of damage they want to do to you so you can actually win when you get to court. I had a case in California where we had a tape of them planting my client. And I presented that to the federal courts, and they wouldn't allow it to be admitted.
Do you have a big plan for 420?
Well, no, I was going to come into town, and I was going to visit with Roger, and I'm not doing that. And the reason is because we should mention this, because Sharon needs all the prayers and good love and vibrations. She was really traumatized by prison, and we cannot put her in any kind of danger, and that means no 420 for Roger, because it would bring too much attention on him, and by that on Sharon, and she's still on probation. So my very best to them, and I'm glad to be the stand-in so that they can be protected.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing that. It's really a pleasure to speak with you, and we just met, and it's really a pleasure to meet you. So hope we can get you at one of our next events, and you know, when things cool off a little bit, looking forward to giving you a big hug.
Right on.
Yeah. So the prosecutor who understands all of this stuff is Jackie Esser.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that name. And is she running for office? Is that the same?
She is. So, you know, this is a great time for us to just be using our imaginations and envisioning what society could look like in the future as far as social justice and criminal justice. And yeah, I think this is a great incubator for that. And the Last Prisoner Project is trying to go full steam ahead and educating people about cannabis. So
yeah, well,
is everyone familiar with Last Prisoner Project?
No.
Yeah, I am. It's what you want to tell us about it a little bit.
Well, they're trying to flip the switch on the on mass incarceration, essentially for possession of cannabis or other cannabis crimes. There we go.
That's Steve D'Angelo.
Yeah, Steve D'Angelo is part of that, and also our friend Mary Bailey, who organized the Maui Cannabis Conference.
Yeah.
I said I'm editing the medical use of cannabis brochure that we give out. Well, it's going to be online now because we can't afford to print it again. But anyway, if you yeah, anybody who wants to input on editing this guidebook, please do give me feedback on it. It's in kind of rough shape right now, but it's yeah, that's it. Thank you.
The website.
If you have questions or something that you want to have included in there, please just send them to me.
That's fantastic. So should we send you an email or should we comment in the document? How do you prefer?
Email would be the best. Yeah, my WG rated R, my pirate joke email address. Rated R.
Do you want to share that in the comment section?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have some folks contact you.
Okay.
And thanks for putting the guide together for patients. Wow, so helpful. Yay.
Here I am.
Oh, all right.
Aloha.
All right. All right. I'm taking the sticker.
All right.
Who am I looking at?
Ed, this is Brent. Everyone want to introduce yourselves?
Aloha, Will.
Well, I'm Scott.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
I'm Shar.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Shar.
Aloha, Shar.
Anyway, I wish everybody good luck, but past that joint, remember, for every cause, there is an effect. AFFECT. The cause is marijuana. The effect is the affection. We are affected, and affection leads to love.
I do believe that a lot of people are becoming aware of that and are looking deeper into that, you know.
Yeah.
Cannabis economy for all the islands. Roger Christie is working on it, huh?
Nice.
Nice spot.
Thank you. That's the work of a compost toilet over a couple of decades.
It's in the living room, so this is what I see out the window in the living room. It's neighbor's yard. That's the ohia tree that I get to stare at. Beautiful ohia tree.
I'm
Where
in
is
San
that?
A real mishmash of things. The streets were really empty for a while, but people are back out partying a bit. But
If you or a loved one is not in a hospital suffering, it's pretty interesting to be able
we
to.
have friends, who have friends who've had a real rough go of with COVID, but recovered. But it's
my friend's father died in Ecuador. The streets of Guayaquil have dead people on them. It's just really horrible down there. Can't get into a clinic, can't get the corpses picked up. It's just a mess in Ecuador.
Well, I have a quick request, and I think, I'm hoping this will make it into the highlight reel, but I'm going to ask everyone to share a little bit of gratitude. Maybe one or two or three or four things that we're grateful for today, right now, on 420. And who wants to start? Don.
I think you do.
Out of the flowers into reality.
Wow.
Don, give us something that you're grateful for.
Grateful for Wendy. Here she is. That's what I'm grateful for. Who else?
We're all grateful for Wendy.
Oh, I love you.
I am also grateful for Wendy. I'm glad I know you. I'm grateful for all of you guys. People to be here sharing today with friends. You know, it's pretty sparse out here. It's just me. So.
Well, I'm grateful we live in Hawaii, and I'm grateful for Roger and Sister Cher and the Cannabis Ministry and the Green 13, who took a hit for the home team. Aaron Zeman, bless his heart. All those guys who did their time.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Roger, Shar, Aaron. Yep.
Shar too.
And Grey Wolf and Devaki and.
Well,
Mike.
I've tried. We have a song that we sing at every meal. We have a family dinner every Wednesday night, And it starts off, thank you for this food, this glorious, glorious food. But the second verse is, thank you for this life, this glorious, glorious life. Friends and family, guides and angels, and dear Mother Earth, you made it possible. So grateful for all those things. Friends, family, guides, angels, and dear Mother Earth.
As I'm guided by the plant, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and that's what I'm most grateful for.
Nice. Good place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. So, where do we go from here? Like, how do we affect the next stage of this? Maybe I should say that if
I'm a little concerned that we're becoming so reliant on internet and the post office, because if we want to have an election and vote by mail, we need to make sure that the post office survives, and we need to make sure that our internet survives.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a suggestion there.
Kind of reliant on.
A suggestion I think would be to be one of the poll watchers, so that we watch all the polls.
Okay.
And do the best we can. Apparently, they take one from the Republican Party and one from the Democratic Party.
That's a great idea. So not the polls that the wires are on, but the polls at the polling stations. Is that right?
Which may be reduced down to the clerk, because they're going to be real strict about the hours when they close if you don't have your ballot in on time. And, it's going to be a little uncomfortable for people to actually vote, as we all know. So to be one of the people to keep our right to suffrage free, I think that's the best suggestion I can give. And I am running for the U.S. Representative, Tulsi spot, and I'm hoping that my voice of liberty for us will take that seat, so that we can have what we've had today.
And what are you most grateful for today, Bart?
Oh, I'm most grateful for life. I am most grateful for life. I'm most grateful for the gift of free will and reason, because it has brought us together to have these discussions and to hear each of you and the wonderful views where we all want a cleaner planet, a better relationship with the earth and all the living things, the plants.
I was surfing. I didn't know you guys were having a get together. But I just wanted to say hi and I miss you guys and happy 420. And I should get my guitar and play a 30s Prohibition tune at the end, maybe.
That would be so rad.
Yeah, but I'm just happy to see everybody. I'm supposed to be on tour right now with this guy named Timmy. Did you guys meet him in Oahu? He's he's a hip hop rap artist, and he was planning this 42020 tour that we were supposed to all go on. And
Naveed?
We're not on tour.
Okay. Naveed.
Oh, well.
Oh my gosh. You and Naveed would be awesome.
Who?
He's not. It's another hip hop artist on Oahu then.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll open for him. I'll open up for anybody. Actually, I haven't worked since March 9th.
Wow.
But I did, my last night of work, take a half dose of mushrooms just to get everything I could out of it.
Can't you video? Why don't you video ask for donations?
You know what? Truthfully,
I would be all down with that.
I'm going to. I just felt so I've wanted my whole entire life. This is really selfish because people are dying all over the world, but truthfully, I wanted my whole entire life to be a singer-songwriter, and the fact that I could also sing about weed just made my life so. I was living the dream, At least I got to do it for a couple of years. Yeah, no, I'm
Oh,
part of the Washington medical community for like 10, like for, you know, since before Prohibition ended in Washington state. And so I was at all the medical markets performing. I've been performing cannabis stuff for like probably 7 years prior to performing at your event. And I had performed at the Maui event, remember?
Right, that's where I met you, right.
And then,
Now I remember.
yeah, I mean, but mostly the events that I performed for, that was like I guess like Maui was the first like international event. But I was like super like, I was really psyched to go perform at your event, and like playing after Russ talked was just freaking mind blowing. I'm always like psyched when people talk about the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, because it's just like, that's it.
And Prohibition was too.
I know. I can't wait. I'm like, at least we're on 3 different islands now, right?
And hey, Dylan,
Hey. You have your hands in a lot of pies there, Brent.
how's it going? Yeah, for sure. Let's welcome Dylan in. I see you're in the cultivation area, Dylan. I'm gonna pin your video to the top. How's it going over there?
It's going good. How about yourself?
Good, good, good. Happy 420.
Yeah, man. I'm just in my happy place, you know, in the garden. Can't complain.
Very nice.
A fun place to be.
It is. It really is. Not gonna lie.
So what are you guys working on today?
Today we're doing a little harvest, and I just did the 420 lottery winner. We gave away 10 people $100 shopping spree. One was $250, and then one person got a $1,000 shopping spree.
Wow.
420. So everyone that bought something for the month of 420 was entered into the raffle if you came to the store. So that was pretty fun.
That's awesome. And when you say you just gave that away, how did you guys go about that?
Well, we have the HIPAA stuff, right? So we basically did it by LeafLogic's transaction on the receipt. So I couldn't actually announce their names. So I just announced their receipt number, and then I was able to basically contact them directly afterwards if they didn't have the receipt. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for taking.
Got to think about the medical laws first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And are you able to give us a little bit of a tour, or?
Oh yeah, 100%. And here we're in the mother bedroom, so we got our keikis. So we do our pheno hunting as well. So we actually clone directly into cocoa. So what we actually have is we have a little setup. It's pretty different than any other cultivation method or any other. A lot of places, you know, they clone in a rock wool, right? Like this. They clone in a rock wool, or they clone, you know, into some Oasis cubes, rock wool cubes, and they'll transplant that. We actually clone directly into cocoa, just like this. So we'll we basically cut off our moms. We charge our cocoa, and we clone directly right into them. So like for these guys, you know, once they're in here, we put them in these pots.
Oh, I see.
So you see, so this is like a little shell. So as this thing is getting roots, right? This thing is pretty new. It's probably only been here for like 2 weeks. This thing will root out, and then once it's ready to go, we'll pull this pot off and we'll put it right on top of a 2-gallon pot of cocoa, and the roots will go right underneath. So that's how we basically, this is how we accomplish no root system disturbance throughout the cloning process all the way through flower, which really helps. You know, we've done it all different methods, but this way really, really works. And I'm surprised more people don't do it. I mean, it is kind of a setup, right? Like you got to cut these pots, like you buy these pots and then you cut out the bottoms. That takes a little bit of time, but it's really it works really well. And the plants love it. They never really go through like any serious stress, you know, because their root systems are never disturbed at all.
That's
which is pretty great.
And are those pots of product that we could maybe pick up at like Hilo Grow Shop or where?
Oh yeah, these are common pots. You can pretty much get these in here. These are just 3/4 gallon pots, and I think I don't. I mean, I can get you the actual number on it, Brent, later. But they're all common. These are all common pots.
And
we
you
actually modified these, right? We cut these.
You have to cut the bottom.
Yeah, cut the bottom off of that. But it was a common pot. We just took it with a little skill saw, put it on a table, and we just chopped all the bottoms off.
And that probably saves you what, a week, 2 weeks?
It saves at least a week. So these things will, right from the direct. I mean, we basically skip this stage, right? So right when these things start to develop their roots, the roots catch, and then right from there, they just go. They just it's crazy how fast once the roots are established, they just start going. So we'll probably be in here, I'd say 3 weeks from cut of moms to actually setting that on a flowering pot and going into flowering. So our total time from mom to flower is right around 3 to 4 weeks.
I see. Wow, that's awesome. And you mentioned that you charge the coconut coir. What are you using to activate the ingredients?
So we use Clonex, we use KLN, and we use some CalMag. And we just pre-charge that, get the pH right. We actually soak our cocoa pretty heavily in basically we call it supercharging it. So we soak it, get it all moist, and then once these clones are in here and they're in the supercharged cocoa, they'll sit in here and these things are just about, they need to actually get watered now. They've been in here without any feed for 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. So that supercharge will keep them for about 2 weeks. Then it'll let the roots establish, and they'll just take off, Another thing that we do that's a little different is we use these T5 LEDs, and we have a mixed spectrum up here. I don't know if you guys can see that. So some are red and some are blue. But essentially these things are removable. So I can put a blue one in, a red one in, and I'll just slowly ramp them up by basically adding in lights to the T5s. So they never freak out. They don't have too much light, and they can kind of acclimate slowly. And that really allows this method to work really well, because if you were to give them full light right away, they should be in a cloning dome, but they're not. They're just in this cocoa, and they need to get established. You got to really be a little gentle with them. But if you're gentle with them and they catch, it's a really good method because you save time. And at the end of the day, you get healthier plants in the flower because you're never disturbing the soil,
Right. So, and the hood itself, I noticed that the hood is just not what the plant wants. It's kind of what we want in the plant, but it's not what the plant wants.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those cloning domes can have, they can create problems sometimes, for us using this method, we get 99.5% clone success rate. We don't basically lose none. So when we're choosing our clones for the flowering room, we're really able to just choose the best healthy cuts. We're not choosing by which ones died and which ones didn't. So very high success rate with them, and seems to be working well. So we're just sticking with it. We actually went back to Oasis Cubes for a little while and just wasn't working. They weren't happy, Want to keep them happy.
Yeah, hard to get the pH right with those, of course. And
yeah,
do you go to 3 gallon next, or
what is that?
What's the next step up from there?
The next step up from this?
Yeah, from the 3/4 gallon.
In terms of potting?
Yeah.
It's a 2 gallon rose pot, and I'll show you one in a flowering room right now. And it goes right on top of that pot. We just push it right in with the bottom cut out. Right here, before we leave this room, we have some new phenotypes we're working on. We've been actually doing a bunch of local breeder phenotyping. So we've been doing a lot of featured strains in our stores of all the local breeders and genetics guys. Right now, we just dropped, a little while ago, dropped Maui Girl from Grayskull. We're working on some pod cakes. Working with Andrew, Brent. Working with Andrew, we're about to drop his Maui Double Dog, which is going to be exciting. We just phenoed that one out. Turned out super nice. I'll go show it to you later on the stream.
I bet.
But yeah, it's been pretty fun because we get to really feature. I mean, you know, the cannabis system is set up the way it is, but this allows us to actually get some other growers in the community out in front. So I'm pretty stoked that we're able to do that. This is wedding cake times skunk. I think we got some Kauai Electric over here. These are just different lime pop phenos. So we're trying to pop as many seeds as we can. We don't, you know, we actually need to build up our upstairs. We haven't built up upstairs out yet, and we're running out of space. So I guess that's a good thing, but I can't wait to actually have a real breeding room. You know, that's like one thing we don't have. You know, it's not that it's terrible to have all the phenos in here, but it's not optimal. I mean, I'd love to have like a separate flowering room to really try them out. Right now we got a flower room in our main room, which it works, but maybe in the future that's what we'll be able to actually have their own separate room. Here's some Kauai Electric.
Well, it's really great that you prioritize getting those seeds in from our local breeder celebrities over waiting until you have the optimal environment. So thanks for pushing ahead on that early. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's a win-win, you know. And I think people really want to support the local home growers, and it's just one way that not only we can, but also patients can, by buying their strain.
Yeah,
and reposting it on Instagram and blowing them up, right?
That's right.
Helps them a lot.
And at some point, we'll be able to get those seeds and clones right out into the community from your retail, right?
That's right. So we got Senator Joy Sanventura to promote a bill for seeds. We've been pushing the other dispensary licensees to want to sell clones and seeds. It seems like we're kind of falling on deaf ears, but eventually it seems like now we're starting to get some support from the other licenses to actually start to sell seeds and clones. And fortunately, our senators are also now starting to see that. And so, yeah, there's two bills. One was for seeds and clones. One was just for clones. The seeds and clones bill got put on the side, but the clones bill is still active, and it looked like it was going to pass, which is unbelievable. So the first try, it's going to pass the first try. So what we need your help to submit testimony on that bill, so we can make sure that bill passes, because that will allow us to really. Let me get back here. That will allow us to, take what we're doing here and take it to the next level, because we'll really be able to feature everyone's cuts and sell them in the store. I mean, it will be a really great situation for breeders like Andrew, right? That can feature their strain in the store, or Gray Skull, or any of these other local breeders.
Would you have to submit seeds or clones acceptable, and then you guys put them through your whole test? It takes a while.
It would take a while, yeah. So we would basically, I mean, I would love just to go take what they have right away and sell it right away, but I don't know if that's going to work yet. So I got to figure out how it's actually going to work. But maybe there's a way for us just literally to buy, or whatever the word is, if you know what I mean.
Acquire
these different cuts and clones and sell them directly without actually having to grow them out in our tracking system and everything. But I just don't know the logistics of it yet. But I do know with the way the language of the bill is right now, we would basically be able to grow those out and then take cuts with a tracking number, bring them to the store, have a little grow set up in the dispensaries, little clone room or whatever, and essentially be able to sell our cuts right from there. So I don't know if we need to establish the genetic before we could do that, or we could just literally resell from local breeders. That's to be seen. But
it's a step in the right direction, that's for sure, regardless of
in the right
how it
direction.
comes out.
Yeah.
So the goal is to get it passed, and then, Joy is a good ally, for sure.
Yes, she is. So let me continue the tour here. So right now we are actually harvesting. These guys are pulling some out of the flying room right now. This is going to go to live extraction. These plants are going to go in the freezer right away. We'll chop them down, take the sugar, not sugar leaves off, but the fan leaves. And then they'll, basically buck them down, go in bags, turkey bags, and go right in the freezer. And that'll be used for our bubble hash, also our live rosin. All right, what we got here? So this is flowering room at week 3. So, these cuts came in here probably around that tall. So here's the pot, 2-gallon pot. There's that clone pot that went right on there. So we basically just pull the bottom out and just press it down right there. And this thing's it's solid. It's already got roots all the way down there.
Wow, so you just set it right on top.
Right on top. And these things are just finishing up their stretch. We got some awesome light lifts. I don't know if you guys can see this.
That's looking really
This allows us to get the par. This allows us to keep the par like right where we want it. And as they finish stretching, we can basically adjust this thing up right when they're starting to form their bud sites so that we don't burn them out or heat stress them. These things work great. We actually built them ourselves.
Wow.
Side note. They work excellent. So that's this room. And I'm going to take you to a new room.
And so were those lights in the up position? Do you lower those lights back down or?
Yeah, so what we'll do is when we start them out in there, we'll keep them a little lower. And then, as they finish their stretch, we'll start to, basically we go in there with a par reader and we just check the par at the top of the canopy, make sure it's optimal. Some strains like it a little bit higher, right? Like the sativas are going to want a little bit more high PPFD or par rating. Some are closer to 12 to 1500, somewhere in there. And the indicas are going to want obviously a little bit less light intensity, not as hot. So what we'll do is we'll actually stagger the rooms in each flowering room. And this is just based on just growing all of our cuts for how long we've been doing it. But we actually know what part of the room each strain likes, because each part of the room is a little bit different. I mean, we try to keep them, homogeneous across, but there is some pockets, like on the sides, for instance, by the ACs, that's a little colder, a little more airflow. And so what we'll do is we actually plan out our rooms now based upon where the strains are going to go in the flowering room, based upon the different environmentals or conditions in the flowering room.
Wow.
And that's where the light lifts come into play, right?
Every little bit counts, right? I hear you.
Yes. Oh, it's pretty crazy. And even between rooms, even though the rooms are exactly the same size, with the exact same amount of equipment inside, everything is perfectly spec'd to the same degree. They perform differently, and they certain strains like different rooms, which just the only logical explanation is that plants are living creatures, and there's something about the vibe of what's going on that just affects them growing other than the actual conditions that they're in, which is really interesting. But it's kind of interesting to see, like, in an indoor facility like this, how different each part of the facility is, and even the rooms. So.
Right. Do you have any ideas what's changing the frequency or the vibe in the room? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. We have, one thing that's kind of interesting is that we have this corridor, and this corridor basically wraps around our whole building. It's actually dark in here. Let me move this around here. And so what this corridor is, let's see if we can. So this corridor wraps around the whole building, and what's happening in this room is that we're essentially treating the air. And so what happens is we treat the air and we get it to the level of environmental that we want, and then we're basically pushing air inside of these grow rooms. This is a grow room right here. And so we push the air inside the room, so there's a constant air, positive air pressure, which makes sure there's no little bugs coming in or no mold spores or anything like that. You know, we also put some pieces of equipment out here, like this is a humidifier, which we use in the beginning parts of the flowering cycle. As we're kind of adjusting them out of the mother veg room, we'll basically keep it hot and humid in there for the first 3 weeks of flower. And then as it kind of comes to the end of the flowering cycle, it's dry and cold, right? Brings out all the colors, hardens the nugs, gets the terpenes out, all that good stuff. So here we're gonna go into a flower room that's at I want to say just entering week 5. So the bud sites have formed. They're starting to size up. They're all white haired out, but they're really starting to do well. And for some reason, this room that I'm about to go into always does the best. And I don't know why. Again, same room, but they just love it here. I don't know why. Something about this room.
Right on.
Yeah, can you describe the smell?
The smell smells like candy. Like it smells just like Skittles. If you ever had our Skittles before, it's definitely Skittles growing in here because you can just smell it. It's just so strong. Citrus like it smells like Skittles. I mean, I don't know what other way to describe it. Like bubblegum, citrus, kind of like fruit, tropical fruit smells. Let's see if I can get on a chair here. So this thing, here's some green cracks over here on the end. It's more of a short, it's a sativa strain, but it likes to grow short and stout. And it's loving it in here. I don't know if you can see that, but this is only week 4. These nugs are going to probably get double the size.
Wow.
And my hand for, you know, these things are pretty massive already. Yeah, these things are loving it in here. Not the best medical name, but, you know, that's what everyone knows it by. So what are you going to do? All right, so here's some newer stuff we're working on. I think this is actually a newer Pinot. Let's see. Yeah, this is a Maui Girl. So this is from a local breeder, actually, Gray Skull. And we've been super stoked on this Pinot right here. It came out nice. We're actually running a couple of them, number 6, number 9, and the numbers are just associated to what Pinot turned out well. So I think we popped like, I can't remember what Gray Skull gave us, but I think it was like 30 seeds. And then number 6 and number 9 were the standouts. Just been running with them. They're pretty different though. So we actually named the Pinots at the store because they are so different. But already, you know, in week 4 to 5, you can already see the frost is starting to get to them already. I can't really see where the camera is. I'm like kind of putting it above my head and doing circles. So hopefully you guys can see what's going on.
Yeah, that's a great shot. Right there is a great shot. Overlooking the canopy is awesome.
So yeah, we're going to the last flowering room. Got to set these benches back. These things are movable, right? So we can basically adjust, get our walkway space, put them right underneath the light.
So while you're moving around, I just want to get everyone to think of any questions you might have for Dylan.
Yeah, maybe I'll stop for questions real quick before we go in this next room because I'm trying to charge my phone at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to charge my phone for a second and you guys can ask away.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions for Dylan? Let's see, I see we've got everyone unmuted.
Yeah, the sativa, the green crack, you said mostly sativa, but it's more bushy. Do you prune it to get it that way just to keep them small, or do you have some giant sativas like a Thai?
Sorry, I had someone ask me a question here, so I missed. If someone was asking a question, you got to say it again.
I'm wondering, the green crack, you said it was mostly sativa, but it likes to be a bush. Are you pruning it to get it to that shape?
No, it just grows like that. We don't even, it's not even any special pruning. It just, I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely sativa. If you consume it, it has the same effects as sativa. If you look on Leafly, it's a sativa. Everyone says it's a sativa, but it does not grow like a sativa at all.
Nice. How many weeks do they stay in that room? How many weeks till harvest total?
That's on week 4 to 5. So there's about, it's about halfway done. A little bit over halfway. We grow strains to 8 to 10 weeks. And so what we'll do is we'll try and stagger the harvest. And also depends on like what we're taking to extraction. So we might harvest some of the extraction strains a little earlier just to get, when you're doing the solventless extraction, the heads, obviously, when they start turning amber, if you harvest a little earlier, even like a few days, when the trichome heads are a little bit clearer still, it produces like a more lighter color consistency or extract. And
Right.
obviously that's what patients want, right? So that's also a factor on when our harvest time. But usually, 8 to 10 weeks, and we don't have the luxury. So we have some strains that are definitely 12-week strains, but we just can't grow them to 12 weeks just because it would mess up all the timelines. So there's some strains like Kimbo Kush that probably could go to 11 weeks or 11 to 12 weeks, and we still harvest it at 9.5 to 10 just because we have to.
Right on.
Right on. Do we have any other questions out there?
Where are you?
Where am I?
Are you in Hawaii?
Yes, I'm in Pepikeo on the Big Island.
Oh, you're on the Big Island. Okay.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know. Like, is everybody here from Hawaii?
Big
I
Island.
believe so right now.
Yeah.
Hi. Good. I get to see everybody.
I think everyone's super interested in what you're saying, Dylan. So
yeah,
please continue if you will.
Would love to. So I'll go to this next room where we're harvesting. And this one we harvested part of the room this past weekend. And the remaining parts of the room we're keeping a little longer. And so this right here, let's see. Oh, I don't have my camera forward. So this is Tangy. And this is going to live extraction. So we'll just pull off all these kind of leaves, right? They don't have any sugar. And that'll go to live right in the freezer. So this room, we have, let's see. So half the room or a little bit of a quarter of the room has been harvested. The rest is, we're waiting to finish. Like here's our Kimbo Kush that I was telling you about. And this one, we actually just got a test result. We just dropped it in the stores for 420 today at 32.2% THCA, which is the highest testing strain we've had so far. And I know if I keep it for one more week, I can probably get closer to 35, just because one thing that I've seen with test results, having done this for like a year and a half, is the THC really plays a factor in the length and harvest time. So like on a high THC strain like this, that's usually around 30%, that extra week can be, it adds on to the percentage. But even at week 8 right now, or week 8.5, I mean, you could harvest this right now. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing as is, but it just gets a little better if you wait a little bit longer,
Yeah, I see how those buds could definitely use some stretching too into that 11th and 12th.
Yeah. This room stretched a little bit. Over here down at the end, we have our Hell's Bells. Another thing we do is we flush RO water, just water, no nutrients for the last about 6. So we do kind of a longer flush time than most growers. And so, you can see in this room, like all these leaves are just turning yellow, using all the last amounts of food the plant has stored. as they basically finish out. They're just finishing with water here. I'd say we're going to harvest the rest of this room in probably about a little less than a week. Here's some Hell's Bells. It's got really pretty purple, really nice cut from Swamp Boy seeds. And it smells like, how do I describe the smell? It's like very gassy kind of smell. It's like the gas terps, you know, not like fruity like the other strains, very gassy, earthy tones to it. Beautiful colors on it though. It's very, very purple. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yeah, and was the purple that's just part of that strain, or did they experience some type of a temperature shift, or?
Well, both.
Okay.
It's part of the strain, mainly. It's mainly the strain. But if you're in this room right now, compared to the other rooms we went into, this is very cold in here, very dry. You know, right at the end, we like to we follow a VPD chart, right? So we're trying to mimic nature inside the room. That's all we're doing, is we're just trying to play, you know, nature. And so in the beginning of the cycle, hot, humid, and then at the end, dry and cold. And sometimes that can bring out, you know, these purpling or the colors and effects of the strain. But even if you were to have this room hot at the end, I think this strain, because this is such a purple strain, it would turn purple even without the cold temperatures.
Roger that.
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I'll show you the rest of the building here. So let me grab my charger just in case I need that. Hopefully I don't run out of battery while I'm talking to you guys. If I do, I apologize.
Yeah, all good, all good.
So we're gonna go check out drying room. Put this cord around me. All right. So yeah. So we actually have our own laundry set up, and whenever you come into our building, you take a shower. That's why I'm dressed like I'm going to the hospital or something, I guess. So we all wear scrubs. Actually, Bruce right now is taking some pictures for us.
All right.
It's actually prom day. Didn't tell you guys. So we're just doing some photography in here. This is one of our drying rooms, and it's seconding as a photo studio for a minute. Here is one of our drying rooms with some plants hanging. Let's see. So it's cold, turn the lights on, cold and dark and dry. So here is I want to say, let's see here. This is American Pie.
Nice.
Really frosty looking strain. Let's see if this, oh yeah, this is much better. I can totally see what I'm filming now. I clicked a button, now I can like totally see what I'm filming. Awesome.
All right.
So yeah, this is, I think this is American Pie. Let's check. Yep, American Pie. This is the tag. Everything is barcoded, totally tracked all the way from the moms. So if we ever, you know, had a strain that performed, or something like if a patient came in and said, hey, this bud tastes like this, or something's off, or this bud is amazing, what you know, where did this come from? We can actually trace that transaction back, all the way back to the actual mom that it came off of, and see the entire history all the way through. So it's compliance, but it's also quality control too. You know, you kind of get the best of both. Let's see.
Right. And
Can you guys see what I'm looking at? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we can see it. We could actually see the barcode. I'm curious what your RH is in the room, what your relative humidity is.
Let's check. Right now we are at 51, 68.
Wow, that's great. I sure wish I could get 51 RH up at my treehouse. That would be pretty.
Yeah, you got to have one of these bad boys in there.
Is that an air conditioner?
I take it back. You need two. You need two.
Are they air conditioners also?
Yeah, there's an air conditioner right there.
Okay.
We just have this little makeshift thing in front of it just so that it's not getting, there's no air blowing on the actual cannabis.
Right.
But yeah, that's just a normal mini split, just like you see. And in fact, all of our entire building has these. We don't have a central AC system because we like to keep.
Oh, you're losing your phone.
All right, perfect. We like to, yeah, we don't have a central AC system. We like to keep these because you have redundancy, right? Like if you're in a flowering room, we actually have 11 of these things, not 12, 11. And so if one goes down, we can just fix one. You don't have to like call the AC guy and be like, hey, because if you had a central AC system and it went down, you know, you would be kind of SOL because, you know, cannabis isn't going to like stop growing. So it's not going to wait for your AC to be fixed.
Right.
Unless you could move those units around if necessary. That's the way to go.
Yeah. And we can fix them ourselves, right? Like we know how to drain them. We know how to fix them. I can rebuild one of those right now. I know how to rebuild anything in this whole building. And I think that's a really important part of like running a production at this level is like you can't rely on contractors and you have to really know every part of your piece of equipment because something's breaking every day. You know, there's always something going wrong.
That's right. That's what we're doing out in our home grows is, you know, if we have a piece of equipment we don't know how to work on, I'm not even sure it gets integrated into the grow environment. There's just.
Exactly. It's the same concept. I mean, it's just like, especially with AC or environmentals, if you're indoor, you know, and you're growing hydro or growing in cocoa, you got a little bit of leniency there. But I mean, if you let the environmentals go crazy, I mean, a few days, you're going to have a big problem. I mean, even a few hours, you're going to have a big problem. So.
Right.
I think we've been there.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. So yeah, laundry. So usually we actually come in through here. So hopefully no one. I better check first. Nope, no one's in here. So yeah, so we shower. We have our medical scrubs provided to us. We do our laundry every day. We take our clean room procedures very, very seriously. It's, you know, we have the strictest lab testing standards in the country almost here in Hawaii, which is pretty amazing. Let's see what we got here. We got some guys that are packing up some, looks like distillate. Doing a live stream, guys. So happy 420. This is Bo. What you loading up? Oh, we got some distillate carts.
Yeah, distillate carts.
Willie Nelson distillate carts. And I'll show you how those are made in a second. So what we do is he's pressing this down so that it's tamper resistant. You know, one-time use, which is required by law, so that we have to follow, you know, all the laws, and this is one of the laws. So every one of these carts is single-use, tamper resistant. It's made out of glass, ceramic tip. So these are pretty much the most sustainable, you know, cartridges you can get. A lot of the cartridges on the market, like if you see in like smoke shops, you know, are made out of like polycarbonate, or they're made out of, they have plastic tips, things like that. So we try and, wherever we can, use sustainable packaging. Okay, take you to the lab.
And is there some place, do you guys accept those cartridges back, or is there something we can do to, you know,
Man, it's a great question. DOH will not let us accept the cartridges back. We did go down that route because there's no way of actually clearing the oil out. It's just a compliance thing where if you bring back oil and it's still in the cartridge, it could be a problem. So like it actually, I think we're the only ones in the state right now that actually recycle packaging. So we allow for patients, we actually incentivize patients to bring back their packaging, and we give them points or money. Points basically equals money to recycle their packaging. But when they bring them back, they have to be washed. You know, there can't be any keef or any, you know, any cannabis material in there. And at first, when we started doing it, we were the first ones. I don't think anyone else is still recycling. I hope there is. I think Juanitos might be recycling their boxes, but DOH was a little hesitant at first because there was like some cannabis residue, and they're like, hey, you can't do this because of, so we have to make sure like we actually turn people away if they have any like keef inside the jars or there's any like oil left over. But whenever they get them cleaned up, we take them in and we give them points, and they can use those points to buy more cannabis. This is our lab. These are our washing machines. They're the same kind of washing machines you see in Japan. You know, there's just these little like countertop units. It just agitates them with ice and has a little drain right there. And we use these food grade trash cans and all these different bubble bags. Let's see what are you doing? What are you doing right now? This is John. He's making some keef right now. Say hi, John.
Aloha, John.
Yeah, John. So John's making some keef right now with dry ice. So he's actually shaking that stuff right now and producing this. So nice little jar of keef. He's got his press over here. We actually just pressed, John just washed and pressed this live pineapple hash, which is something I'm actually very proud of. So I'm going to show it off right now because it tested at, I mean, it's pretty crazy, but it tested at 99% cannabinoids and terpenes, which is just unbelievable. I think it's like 90% cannabinoids and 9% terpenes. Hold on one second. Let me open the jar. So it literally looks like it's just, if I could describe, if you could smell it, I mean, I just got it. It smells like pineapple gas, pretty much. Pineapple diesel, maybe.
Nice.
I cannot wait to release this one, and I'm actually just saying that so that I can get some and dab it myself because it's amazing. Yeah, so that's 99%. So basically, I mean, all that's in there is just cannabinoids and terpenes. Here is our lab setup. So this is where we make all of our distillate. We have a terpene steam distillation setup. So what we'll do with this is we actually steam distill all of our own terpenes. We'll put a strain in there that's specific, and we'll add those terpenes, you know, that come out here after steam distilling them to the actual vape cartridges. So when you're buying a cartridge from us, you're buying something that's been completely purified, right? It's pretty much almost 100% cannabinoids by the time it comes out in this fraction right here. So right, this is a fractional distillation setup. This is an ethanol rotor evaporator. So what this is doing is it's refining the ethanol extraction. This is like RSO, you know, RSO or FECO. Mm-hmm. It refines it, and then you're basically running it through this short path distillation to pull off different fractions of cannabinoids. And then once it's refined enough, and he's done enough passes on it where it's pretty much almost 100% THC. Look at this dry ice bubble in there. Then that will go into a cartridge mixed in with our in-house strain-specific steam distilled terpenes. So it's 100% in-house, and we're pretty stoked on that. Most vape cartridge companies in the country are buying terpenes from people that are making terpenes off of fruit or other types of organic, naturally derived terpenes from, you know, just like perfumes and aerosols. And so by basically doing it this way, we're able to actually get our own terpenes from our own cannabis. And so 100% of what goes into our vape cartridge is produced by us, and it's super clean, and we have complete quality control over it. And it's all 100% from cannabis. It's not from oranges.
We lost you, Dylan.
His phone may have died.
Thank you. We really appreciate Big Island Grown, and thanks for taking time to come on to the show and share with us. So that's really it for our time. We run a little bit over time. If anyone has anything they like to share that they're grateful for and what they're up to.
Now and then I'll have my wife.
Hey,
Thank you.
Would you like to send us off maybe with a song,
Thank you.
Charlene? Do you have a song?
No, I don't have anything.
You want to
I don't, but I want to say thank you.
Can I play some?
That'd be great.
So the song I want to play was done by this artist named Trixie Smith. And okay. I'm so hot and so dry. I'm way up in the sky. Smoke some gauge, fill up around, babe. Check the mill. I'm so high and so dry. I'm way up in the sky. When I roach come round, I can't come down. Check the mill. Gonna throw my nickel in a slot machine and play a silent sender. Step back, Susie Q. I will open fender. I'm so high and so dry. I'm way up in the sky. The world seems light and I'm so bright. I got my bomb, it won't be long. Jack, not a tease, follow me. Jack.
Right on. That was awesome.
Hey, you guys.
Right on. Yeah.
Hey, me.
Hey, Dylan's back.
Fabulous.
Right on. Thank you. That was super cool.
Happy 420, everyone. Hope you like the tour. And yeah, any more questions before I go? I'm gonna get back to the garden.
Any questions, anybody?
Thank you. That was a treat.
Just gratitude, Dylan. Thank you. We have lots of gratitude for you in the tour. That was a really, really great treat. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No worries. Happy 420, everyone.
Happy
Stay
420.
safe.
Thanks, Dylan.
Aloha.
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 Thank you.
All day. All day.
See you later. Aloha.
Aloha.